Hi guys, welcome back to the BMW Guy channel, and today we're going to be discussing why the BMW service schedule for these cars is wrong and ruining your car. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay guys, so obviously as I'm talking about servicing, we've got to have the bonnet up as we sort of discuss the engine. So basically, this is the M47 engine on this car. It's the facelift model 1 series of the E87 lineup. So it's from 2007 up till 2011. This is the 2-litre diesel engine which was used in the 116D, the 118D, the 120D and the 123D. So it's a very widely used engine. This engine made up the most of the sales of the BMW 1 Series of this era. Also 3 Series and 5 Series use the same engine as well. So this video applies to them all. And if you've done any sort of Googling, you'll know that this engine, the M47, has a slight issue where it likes to snap its timing chain and grenade itself, which essentially means that you have to have an entirely new engine due to the timing chain, an engine rebuild due to the timing chain snapping. BMW is aware of this issue, however they haven't ever fixed it, and many people are offering lots of different explanations as to why this issue occurs, but essentially it's really easy. When BMW designed this engine, it was designed to be a more economical engine, so it was better due to get better MPGs, but also so the maintenance costs were lower. As you can see, this car was 2007, and this was right in the middle of the recession of the global financial crash. Money was tight, and in order for BMW to be able to still sell cars, they needed to make them affordable, cheap to keep, reliable and cheap to run. So what they did is they changed the oil setup within the car so that it needs to be changed every 20,000 miles. They doubled the interval so that the servicing cost would be essentially half the cost. Also, they changed where the air filter was. This air filter on the previous generation of this engine, the M47, which is Mike 47 instead of November 47, this actually used to be placed behind the passenger, or in front of the passenger footwell, low down in the engine. So they moved this up here to make it much easier, and that again was to reduce labour costs with servicing, so that the services provided by the dealer would be much cheaper. So what they did is they introduced this Castrol long life oil, which is designed to last 20,000 miles plus. Also, everything to do with the servicing suddenly became condition based. So what would happen is rather than having a regular interval that you would change various bits at, the car actually has a predicted time that thing is going to last, and when that timer ticks up, then you'll need to have it replaced. So it was designed to instead of trying to eke every little bit of working life out of each part to make it cheaper to run. However, it does come at a cost, and that is that the engine, the timing chain sprockets at the rear of the engine were designed in quite poorly, really, and it was put at the back of the engine and made out of the toughest steel because BMW assumed that it would never break. It was meant to be a lifetime part, as with the transmission fluid, diff fluid, etc. But we'll get into those in a separate video. But essentially what this now means is that in order to replace the timing chain or fix anything to do with it, you will have to remove the entire engine from the bottom of the car. The timing chain is literally located as far into that engine bay as you could possibly get to make it as difficult as possible to get to, because BMW engineers didn't think of the consequences that would then come about their actions. Essentially, the 20,000 mile service intervals with the oil puts far too much strain on the timing chain tensioners. So obviously, because there's more rolling resistance within the engine, internal resistance, more friction, because the oil starts to decay quite early, so the quality of oil throughout the lifespan of it is much worse than if you changed it regularly with normal oil. So that causes much more wear on the timing chain sprockets at the rear of the engine. What this then causes is the timing chain to stretch, which is characterized by a ticking noise from the engine. So if you've got that, you might be heading towards a timing chain failure, but there are ways to stop that, which I'll discuss now. But yeah, and then eventually, after it stretches, this will eventually snap, leaving you stranded wherever you are, pretty much grenading the engine and causing the engine to need an entire rebuild, which can cost upwards of £4,500. When considering I paid £4,400 for this entire car, you can see why a lot of people are quite annoyed with that, and why a lot of these now are actually, you can buy them for £1,000 with a grenade engine. So that's something to bear in mind. If ever you get an issue with your car that's going to cost more than £1,000, may as well just buy a whole new one, have it sat next to your current one on the driveway, and just swap the bits over, because that's the way these things are going. So how do you fix this? Well, essentially the trick is to use high quality oil. So you can use 0W30, 5W30, some people even use 10W30 on these cars, and we need to change it more regularly than 20,000 miles. So I change this car, I do it twice a year, which works out about 7,500 to 8,000 miles intervals. I use a slightly thinner oil in the winter just to protect the engine more, but that's just more of a personal preference, and I'll make a video on that later on explaining why I do this, and that might even be tomorrow's video. But essentially, by changing the oil more regularly, we're putting less strain on the timing chain sprockets and the timing chain itself, which then potentially saves the engine from having that catastrophic failure. Other things you can do is change your air filter more regularly. Make sure you're changing your oil filters obviously when you're changing the oil, and just allow the car to warm up. A lot of this is down to maintenance and owner care rather than design. So I know these cars, sort of BMW 320Ds, I've seen one of these with over 200,000 miles on the original engine. So with the right care, these cars can be extremely reliable and extremely good, long, hard-working workhorses. So that is really the crux of it. In terms of any sort of warranty claims from BMW, you're never going to get anything. I'm just going to put that straight out there. BMW have acknowledged that there was an issue with the design, however they're not willing to sort of do anything about it. So if you're looking to buy one of these with the M47 engine, whether it be a 1 Series, 3 Series or 5 Series, make sure it hasn't got that ticking noise, and make sure it's been well maintained with regular oil changes, more regular than the 20,000 mile interval. But yeah, that's it guys, so thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe on the video. We do daily BMW videos, sort of on the M47 platform, everything to do with the 1 Series. We've also got an X3, a Golf GTE, etc. So we've got a nice wide variety of cars on the channel, with the main focus being on the BMWs. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.